Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube, and I must say this has been a really interesting week or so now in mainstream news. This story has to do with the Aurora shooter, James Holmes. Woman gets jail time for outburst during Holmes' trial. So speaking of those weird stories that have come out over the past week, this is one right here I actually covered myself. Dead LA man Jeffrey Lash with 1,200 guns was human alien hybrid and undercover operative for government, says fiance. Now many people have been theorizing on what exactly this could be. Is it just predictive programming? Is it social engineering? Are they trying to get people ready for a, quote, fake alien invasion? Perhaps it'll be a real alien invasion. I've covered that on my channel quite a bit. Potentially the fallen angels in disguise as so-called space visitors or alien friends. Other people say that this man was a prepper, so they think this is some kind of a news story where they're going to just further push the gun agenda, trying to get people's guns from out of their hands. Or perhaps it's the truth. This is one of those odd subjects that's been kicking around in so-called conspiracy circles for a very long time. The idea of human alien hybrids among us. Or perhaps what the Bible calls tares. There's wheat and there's tares. These beings that kind of look like us, act like us, but there's no real soul inside. Some people may call them the reptilians. Either way, I thought it was very interesting, especially the fact that it made mainstream headlines and really got out there into people's heads. And now we have this story, which again is kind of touching on one of those subjects that many of us have covered for years in these, again, so-called conspiracy circles. The idea of MKUltra, mind control, mind-controlled assassins being triggered to kill. I'm going to scroll down here. We'll read the story. It says, we are getting closer to a decision that has taken years to reach. Will a mass murderer be sentenced to death for his horrifying crime? Jurors will continue deliberation Monday to decide whether James Holmes will die or spend his life locked up. The hearing was interrupted Thursday when a woman started screaming not to kill him. The judge called the outburst the most disruptive behavior he could possibly fathom. In a final plea for mercy, the defense told the jury to consider James Holmes' mental illness in his sentencing. The mental illness, the psychosis, is what caused James Holmes to shoot the people in the theater, says defense attorney Tamara Brady. In the law that the court provides you the statutory mitigators, mental illness isn't even in there, said the district attorney. And that's when Deborah Cave interrupted, screaming. He's wrong, Cave yelled. Mental illness is everything. I'm the biological mother. She's a surrogate. They took him away from me. They adopted him because they knew that he had mental illness. They, and then something inaudible, full of FBI. Don't kill him, don't kill him, it's not his fault. She climbed over seats before being tackled by deputies and removed. Later, the judge found her in contempt. Cave also said that she had sent James, whom she called Jim, letters and cards and even tried to legally intervene. Cave is homeless and has been in the courtroom for several days this week. She was given a court order earlier in the week not to interrupt. Holmes looked back at the woman when she made the outburst, and his mother started to cry. So again, we have a story to me that reminds me of the story about Jeffrey Lash, the so-called alien hybrid, right? We're starting to see all these so-called conspiracy theories, these conspiracy stories, really coming out in the mainstream more and more. And people can speculate all day long on why, what's really going on here. Is this all some kind of a cover-up? Are they just trying to trump this stuff up and make it interesting? Are they trying to throw us off somehow? Usually when weird stuff like this makes the mainstream, to me, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Are we finally starting to see all these fringe subjects make it into the mainstream for a reason? Is all this stuff really going to start coming out more en masse? Was James Holmes an MKUltra mind control victim? Now oftentimes here on my channel we'll talk about the Illuminati or the hidden hand or the controllers at the top of the pyramid. And there certainly are a lot of false flags, a lot of hoax events, a lot of really shady shootings that happen out there. And some people seem to think that nothing is real. Well, certainly there are some things that are real, And I think there's a lot of different levels when it comes to these false flag attacks or these so-called hoaxes. Some of them certainly are made up by the media, but in other cases, some people really do get hurt. And I believe in this James Holmes case that he was most likely a mind control victim. Also remember that he had his hair colored up like this, kind of like the Joker whenever he did his shootings. Also remember right after they captured him, he looked like this. He had his hair colored. Many people were saying he looked a lot like the Joker, that he was in some kind of character while he was carrying out this shooting. And as I said, you can go back and look at some of the court footage and just look at this guy. I mean, there's something is wrong, right? Now, MKUltra is very real. This mind control is very real. I've covered this quite a bit on my channel. A lot of other people out there cover it as well. But to think that they, the powers that be, aren't using this, I think is very naive. And then, of course, we also have the Illuminati card game from 1995. Now, if you're not familiar with the subject, please look it up. It's an excellent example of lesser magic, or how these witches, these sorcerers, these so-called Illuminati, how these people have to tell us what they're going to do before they do it. This is lesser magic. This is including the public in the spell. It's warning you this is coming, this is what we're going to do, and then they do it. It's just another element of that mass mind control. And speaking of the mass mind control, once again, they do tell us about these hidden programs and the things they do, but they do it in a very subtle way. You may have seen the TV series Under the Dome. Whenever you see this advertisement, you're like, why is there a butterfly up there? What does that stand for? Well, once again, if you're not familiar with the subject of monarch mind control, I highly suggest you look into it. The monarch mind control is all about the butterfly. And here we have it in a mainstream TV show, putting it right in front of your face, that this entire town, everything under the dome, is essentially under some form of mind control. And speaking of Under the Dome, I wanted to show you this publicity picture they put out there as well. I mean, kind of says it all, doesn't it? It's got two attractive girls here, bound and gagged under the dome of mind control. It's a pretty sexy picture, I'd say, for family entertainment or a family show, as they seem to promote this for Under the Dome. But then again, it is the all-seeing eye network of CBS, so what do we expect? And there's one more thing I'll include, is this is a new movie that's coming out in August called MKUltra. You can find the trailer online. This is all about a stoner kid, who's kind of getting high, kind of stumbling his way through life, and all of a sudden one day he's triggered, and it turns out he's a CIA MKUltra assassin, a trained killer. So on the outside he looked like just a dude, that likes to get high and just kind of shuffle his way through life. Meanwhile, he was one of these agents. His mind had been cleared, had no idea, and then suddenly, boom, he's triggered and starts killing. So again, just another example of how they'll put it right out there in front of your face, MKUltra. So is James Holmes an MKUltra? Makes you wonder. Was the lady in the court that freaked out truly his mother? Was she telling us the truth? Did the government take him at a very early age and raise him up and train him to be one of these triggered assassins? Either way, I wanted to share that with you. I just think it's really interesting that these kind of stories that many of us have been looking into for years now are finally starting to make it out into the mainstream. And perhaps they have to. Perhaps they're going to have to start leaking this stuff out. They can't keep stuff like this a secret forever. So it's interesting stuff. Keep your eyes peeled on the news for more of this really bizarre stuff coming out in the mainstream. And I'll talk to you later.